everyone. I'm Rebecca Benendike, and I am the Chief Fun Officer, and I'm here today with my lovely friend, Dr. Shellie Hipsky. So she's not just a friend of mine. She is the CEO of Inspiring Lives International. She has dedicated her life to empowering women globally to achieve their dreams. Through the Inspiring Lives company and the magazine, her movement and her team are truly inspiring people from all over the globe. Shelly has done so many things. I don't even know where to begin, and we haven't caught up for a little while. So, Shelly, I have a lot of questions for you today, but I would love for you to just tell the audience a little bit about what you do, because when you tell somebody they're the CEO of a magazine, people aren't really sure exactly what's going on. Can you give us a little brief on what it is that you do?
Absolutely. So I'm the CEO of Inspiring Lives International, which is a company that is a multimedia company, very motivational. I have 13 books that are on the market. I do keynote speaking around the world under that umbrella. And then I also do what I call Empower You Masterclass. And you have participated with that and with the brilliant business board that we do and the VIP one-on-ones that I do through that. On the other side, my nonprofit side, I am the executive director of the Global Sisterhood, which houses the magazine. So we've got all the Inspiring Lives magazines, and I'm the editor-in-chief of that. And then we also do different events like the Empowering Women in Business events, Empowering Women in Philanthropy events, and we do a lot of humanitarian work. And Rebecca, when it comes to the humanitarian work, that's where we really bonded. I feel like that we both saw eye to eye on that. We're both doing wonderful things for women and children around the world, and particularly in Africa, is where you're doing so many good things. So my heart just like attached to yours when I knew that. So I think this is going to be a great discussion, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, and the Global Sisterhood, can you just tell the audience a little bit about specifically what they do?
Absolutely. So the Global Sisterhood was established about 6 years ago when I wrote the Common Threads trilogy based on the Empowering Women radio show that I did, which was syndicated to 120 radio stations around the world. And that was a springboard, came from the Inspiring Lives of Dr. Shelly television show that I had. So we had this incredible network of women, starting with those top 100 women that were in the Common Threads trilogy. And it really just became this vessel for bringing women together from around the globe, networking them together, bringing together their gifts, and bringing together their either their funds or their time or their energy to pour into these other women around the world. And so now if you go to the globalsisterhoodonline.org, you can see all the charity partnerships we have and the hashtag pop-up giving that we do to really just lift women up. And we're doing it on a truly international level. And during COVID, there's been some major announcements and things that we've been able to do to help women from Pittsburgh to Pakistan. So it's been a real blessing.
That's really amazing. Now, I want to shift a little bit and talk about the team that you have, because I know that before March, you did have a large team working with the magazine and the Global Sisterhood and to do all the nonprofit outreach. Now, I want to touch on a couple of things. I want to touch on who it is that you would actually hire for your company to work with them. What are the criteria? And what are the types of people that end up aligning with your company, that you end up drawing in, that find you? What are they like, those people?
Fantastic questions. So when I look to build a team, and I go into a lot of that with the ball gowns to yoga pants, with my entrepreneurial secrets for creating your dream business and brand. And when I look for a team, I look to fill in those gaps, the deficiencies that I personally have as the CEO. Like, I know I can't do it all. I can't. I don't want to do it all. You put a line of numbers and a budgetary thing in front of me, and my brain glosses over, and I'm like, no, let's do the creative stuff. Let's make something happen. Let's do it. So that's why when I'm seeking out people to be on my team, they need to bring that into the fold. They need to fill in that gap for me so that we can rise up together and go forward with the mission. And they do have to be very mission driven. People that work with me tend to be very passionate about what they do. They have to have sort of a light inside of them that they're willing to show the world. And they also have to have a point when they can sort of step back and let somebody else take the forefront. Because, I mean, Rebecca, you and I are both big personalities. Am I right?
Maybe.
I think you're a big person. I know that I'm a big personality, and I know that when it comes to my branding, a lot of it I have had to become the face of the brand. Mm-hmm. So if I had all the people on my team were all like, "Look at me," that's not going to work. So when it comes to that, you need people that fill different roles and fill different requirements, and like I said, fill in those gaps for the common mission of the overall goal.
Right. So, and I think that as an entrepreneur, you're doing that correctly. Would you say that that is probably one of the key elements missing in the corporate world, is that they, like I see a lot of times corporate bosses, they actually do feel like they need to do it all. They need to have the answers. A lot of teamwork is lost. Is that, I want to say two things. Is that something you would agree with? And how can we encourage those leaders and bosses to open up to a different way of doing business?
Absolutely. When I was a teacher, I was a tenured professor, and I always saw myself as more of they say more of the guide on the side than the stage on the stage. So when you're able to guide someone towards what they need to do for your company, then you're going to have a greater result. So you want to, when you're leading a team, instead of micromanaging a team, you need to be able to delegate. You need to be able to step back and say, "Oh my gosh, you know what? You're better at that than I am. Go for it, because you are going to make that happen, and that's not my skill set." So I think that there's a point when the CEO needs to humble themselves and just say, "Okay, that's not me. That's not me. I will do this. I will excel at this for us, but this is not me, and this is you, and this is all you, and I want you to go for it." So I think that has a lot to do with leading a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I would absolutely agree. Now, there's so many things we could go into in that area, but you inspire female entrepreneurs. So I'm guessing that a lot of the people on your team have been or are in their own right an entrepreneur. And in your book, The Ball Gowns,
oh, look at that,
which I love, yeah. you encourage female entrepreneurs to step out and find their why. Now, I want to ask you, because I feel like a lot of young women, they're hearing this. It's almost becoming like a cliche, phrase, find your why. And I have a feeling there's a lot of young women out there who are entrepreneurs. There are like, what the heck? I don't know what my why is. I don't know what this is about. And I don't even know what my big passion is. What if I don't have a passion? Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about that chapter, what you talk about, and how you find the why. What are the signs to look for? What are the signals that, especially younger women who are just trying to decide, well, do I go into a corporate world? Do I try being an entrepreneur? I've already tried being an entrepreneur. What do I do next? Maybe you can give a little bit of guidance and
Absolutely. So when it comes to your why, and one of the very first success secret in here is your why is known, you need to establish the how. So it goes beyond the why for the readers. And one of the exercises in the book is to really look back at who did you want to be when you were a kid? Like, what did you, Rebecca, let's talk about you. When you were a kid, who did you want to be? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh yeah, like I was on a stage from the time I was a 2-year-old. So
there you go. Absolutely. So if you have always had that as your burning desire, and you have made that part of your why did you want to be on the stage?
I think it was just a natural innate gifting that I had. I could hold the attention of a crowd at almost any age, and I would reach out to people, strangers from the time I was very, very young. And
Yes.
that was just, there was just things there in my life. It came very naturally.
Excellent. Yes. And I'm the same way. Since 4 years old, my mom ran the local theater and she put me out on the stage. So I absolutely love that. And I enjoyed very much being able to be out there on the stage. And it was definitely a part of my why back in the day that I wanted. First of all, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a Broadway star. That was what I was going to be. I knew this. In my heart and soul, I was going to be a Broadway star and I was going to be a teacher. So I have been able to do pieces and parts of that. Both of us still do a lot of performing. So we can take that back to our childhood dreams.
Yeah.
So I think that people need to look back and say, why did that dream go away from me? And why, what is that dream, and has it morphed? Has it changed? And that's great too.
Yeah.
And then you really need to look at, once you've established the why, a lot of moms out there, a lot of mompreneurs, they're thinking, my why is because I want to provide for those kids that are upstairs doing the homeschooling right now during COVID, or the women that are thinking, my why is because I want to help the people of Pakistan, or I want to be able to live a certain lifestyle. I want to be able to travel the world and still be able to run a business. So you really look at the why, and then you get into the nitty gritty and do the work and figure out how are you going to monetize that passion?
Yeah. Do you think that you've worked with a lot of individuals and you work with a lot of people? Do you think that, as you're talking about going back to being a child, and what did you think of? What did you dream of then? Do you think that people have forgotten how to dream and how to have fun because of the stresses of the world? And what would you say, because I think a lot of people to that will say, well, I can't just go help all the women in Pakistan. I have a family here. I've got bills to pay. And all of this stuff that we constantly are, it's worry. That's what it ends up being. It's worry, it's stress. I can't. Here's all the excuses and reasons why I can't launch my own business, or why I can't travel here, or why I can't get private school for my child, whatever the passion, the desire it is. What do you say to them? And what, I think that's fear.
Yeah, that definitely is fear. And I mean, Picasso said that we were all born artists. We were all able to do this, and then we became adults, and then everything went to crap. That's not an exact quote, but and Rebecca, I just realized that because of homeschooling, my son's name is underneath my face. So if people are looking at this and saying, "Who's Jacob?" Awesome. I thought this was Dr. Shelly. That's the realities of what we're facing here today in our Zoom world. But yes, no, I think that is fear. I think that is worry about regret. Nobody wants to have those regrets down the road. But what are you going to regret more? Is it going to be when you're on your deathbed? Are you going to regret more? Taking a risk and maybe losing a little at one point, or never having stepped out of your comfort zone and never having gotten any of those goals and dreams that you had on your heart. For me, I want to be on my deathbed and think, hot damn, I did it.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Like, you talk to a lot of people in their 80s and even in their 90s, and one of the main things they do regret is that they didn't take enough risk in their lives.
Yes.
Especially in those working years, those, the 20, 30, 40, 50s, where, you know what, we worry so much about what's going to happen. But you're right, we miss out on so much.
Absolutely.
And to that, I think as a first step for somebody who's finding they can't do that alone, I know you have the one-on-one coaching.
Yes.
Yeah, have you had coaches, and what would you say if somebody was considering hiring a coach to come on board, just kind of like be that accountability partner? What would you say to that?
The first thing I always say is invest in yourself first. I mean, you are the greatest investment you can make. And I do have coaches. I do have mentors. I look to them constantly because I I need to grow. I am always seeing what's that next step, and I'm always looking to that next person so that I can continue to grow. I'm always doing my homework, as I say. I am constantly, like last night, I had this breakthrough with one of my VIP clients, and it was because we had started really breaking down some things, and it was because I had just been reading about some life coaching techniques. So I was able to, tap into that newest research and pull that out of them so that they could be their best selves and they could have the most success with their personal business. So I think that coaches should always have coaches, and they should always be taking it to the next level for themselves and the people that they're working with. Absolutely. So I would say, pour into yourself, whether that be through self-care, whether that be through a coach to get you to that next level. You really need to. It's time. There's no better time. We are never going to be younger than we are today.
Yeah.
So just do it now.
Exactly. In the book too, you talk about how being, okay, so we're talking about the process of, getting hired or becoming an entrepreneur, understanding your why and your how. And then when you actually are, working as an entrepreneur, like most of your readers will be, it is an emotional ride. Can you tell us what you've experienced specifically as an entrepreneur that were the most challenging life experiences in your business? And
oh my God.
how you
so many.
Yeah, and what was it that brought you through that and led you to something extraordinary? What is the common thread then, Shelly, in all those moments? What's the common thread that leads to something extraordinary from something that's very challenging and you feel in the moment like there's no way in hell I'm going to ever get through this? I'm going bankrupt, or I'm, when we get, you and I, we're drama, right? We're
drama, darling. Yes.
So yeah, what, do you understand?
I've had so many. I describe it as entrepreneurship is an emotional roller coaster. And Elon Musk said that starting a business is like eating glass. Like, it's that hard. Like, it's like, so it's like, do you really want to do this? Is this really a good idea? So yeah, it's like, so there are times that are so freaking rough. You're like, oh my God, what did I get into? And one of those moments was the impetus for all of this. And that was, I had started the Inspiring Life with Dr. Shelly television show. I had booked out a multi-million-dollar NBC studio. I had, all these people coming in from around the world, and I was ready to make this happen, and it was going to be amazing, and I was ready to go, and I had the costumes, and I had the lighting, I had the makeup artist, and I had everything ready to go. And I was doing all of this pro bono work for a major bank, and they were so gung-ho about it, and they were like, okay, yeah, we're going to have you lead this, and we're going to have you do this. And so I'm going on stages all around the nation, and I'm doing all these things, and I'm doing research groups for them and data analysis and all this good stuff. And I was like the face of the bank, and it's all happening. And then the week before I was supposed to hand that check over to the studio, the NBC studios, I get this phone call from one of the people at the bank, which will remain nameless. And they said, we're not sure that this is the right investment for us at this time. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Wow.
And I, at that time, did not think of myself as a businesswoman. I was a full-time professor at the time. I was also, raising my kiddos, and I had very, very young ones at that time. I had a marriage at that time that was on the rocks. And I knew that I had these people flying in literally from all over the world to be on the show. And I had to take myself over to this other bank, the competitor of the bank that said that they were going to do this, that they were going to sponsor the whole program, 13 episodes. And so I went over to the new bank. I sat down and I teared up. I have to admit, I got very teary-eyed, and I said, "Look, this is what's happening. Like,
no shame in
no shame. No, there was no shame in it, because it was real, and yeah. I was able to not just focus on, okay, I'm not a businesswoman, I'm not this, I'm not that. I was able to focus on, these people are coming, this is the mission, this is going to inspire the world. We need to find a way to make this happen, because I'm not going to let this just drop. I have to find a way to get this money. And I left there with my first line of credit, business line of credit, and all of a sudden I was this businesswoman, and I was able to cut the check for the full amount to the, yeah, it was crazy.
The 13 episodes happen.
What was that? I made the 13 episodes happen. Yeah, wow. Absolutely. It was amazing and incredible. And that was the beginning of my really stepping into, okay, this is it. Universe and God want me to be a businesswoman. I'm going to do this.
Wow. That's a great story. That's a great story.
Thank you.
That's like a colossal, like, huge thing where, you know, some business women are like, oh my gosh, I borrowed $5,000 and I wasted it on a course. And the rest of us are like, yeah, that's part of the journey. You know, I think we've all done that. And I think it's
absolutely
to other women who are reading books like this and trying to figure out which coach do I get, and which course do I take, and which retreat do I go on, and
yes.
So many, we're inundated with it now. And how do we know who's real, and what's this and what's that? You know what? You're going to fail. It's better to fail fast. Do it fast, and then learn from the experience.
And then you pivot. Yeah, you pivot. Then you figure out, okay, this didn't work, but something of it did. This piece of it did. And I mean, here's another colossal craptastic moment. When I said that, because we were in print, and we had, you know, all these magazines in print. We were in 655 Barnes and Nobles across the country. I mean, like, this is expensive to do print, y'all. This is not easy. And you, as the editor-in-chief and as the person that ran the magazines, I had to front the money for all that. So we had, you know, 50,000 magazines that went out to 655 Barnes and Nobles, and then bam, COVID hits, and they're sitting on freaking pallets in boxes outside the Barnes and Nobles for 3 months. And then at the end, if you ever look at a magazine, and right here, it's got the date.
Yeah.
The pull date. They pull them all, and they shred them all. So when they shredded all those copies, it was like shredding my damn money.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what's happened since then, and how?
So since then, we were able to completely pivot. I was interviewed in USA Today magazine for my pandemic pivot, because I was able to take it all, and we're now just spotlighting the crap out of the Global Sisterhood, and it's all through the nonprofit, and it's all about the humanitarian work, and it's all about that, and it's all digital. So then I'm not paying for all of the print, and it's much more economical. It's much better for people to, you know, spread around the internet right now, because we're all at home, we're all in front of our computers. Wait till you see this next issue. Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
It's awesome.
It's so amazing, because this next issue is all about MAR and the Moms Against Racism, because it's such a powerful topic right now. Because, you know, what we're going through in our world, and particularly in the States right now with racism. And so it was just very important for us to be able to really attack those issues, and really put a spotlight on the fabulous ladies and young ladies. You're going to see, this is our youngest cover model ever for this digital issue. You're getting the scoop right now, Rebecca. Nobody even knows this.
This is awesome.
She's incredible. It's a 5-year-old little girl. She's amazing. Like, I learned about her through the New York Fashion Weeks, because since she was 1 year old, she started going to the New York Fashion Weeks.
Wow.
And she's a little supermodel, and she ran the Black Lives Matter march in New York City. She was like out there chanting. It was
fantastic.
Amazing. So when you see this little face, Her name's Aria, so you're gonna meet all about Aria in the next digital issue of Inspiring Lives magazine, and it'll just melt your heart. She's just amazing
Well,
little.
I mean, it sounds like I know you well enough that I can tell even from your voice and your energy that there's so many good things. And I think this is like the really important thing to recognize, that even though we go through these shifts and feels like everything's falling apart, but if you just keep trusting in the process and the journey,
Yeah.
and keep taking those risks and trying new things, experimenting.
Yes.
I mean, the whole digital thing for you is experimentation. So that's really encouraging to the people who are watching this right now. I wanted to ask you, when you're like, because you're out there, you're clearly a leader, and you're leading women and you're around other leaders quite often. You talk in the book too about being an authentic leader. Now, I think everyone's talking about being authentic these days. I mean, I love that we're starting to see women who are, showing real bodies and stuff like this, but I want to know, I still think it's hard to know what's real and what's not.
It is.
Yeah. So
even for ourselves, I mean, we're so filter motivated and
yeah. So what does it mean to you to be an authentic leader?
I think it means that you show the different sides of yourself. And I think that that's why the title of Ball Gowns to Yoga Pants really spoke to me when my daughter basically came up with it, because she said, Mom, you used to be in the power suits and now you're in either ball gowns to go to a charity ball, or you're in your yoga pants with the kids and you're doing deals on your phones and you're just running around being regular mom. So it's really showing those different sides of yourself. I do these podcasts, all the time. 3 a day some days. And I've gotten teared up, and I've gotten very, very real with my story, and, just being true to yourself. For me, when you said it was authentic leadership, for me, my mind always thought of myself more of authentically being a servant leader, because that to me is who I am. I'm a servant leader. I give back. I am always I love pouring into other people. That's how my heart gets filled up, is when I'm pouring into other people and seeing their success. So I'm always looking to find out, how can I serve that client, that the reader, the person that's out in the audience. What did they need? So as long as you're being authentic to who you truly are and what you truly are on this planet to do, then you're going to go far. You really are.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And I think that when you find your place in a moment where you don't recognize who you are anymore, and you're not sure, what message you're sending, is when we need to take a step back, probably. Absolutely. And see, who do I want to be in this world? What do I want? Do I really want what everyone else has or talks about? Is that really me?
Right.
And then really find that authenticity for ourselves again, for sure.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, because you're such a great storyteller, and I know the people watching are just like eating up all your stories. I wanted to ask you, what is the story behind inspiration is just a story away?
Oh,
it must have been a great story when you came up with this coined phrase. So I'm just...
I think you and I have had some talks about, I do feel that I have an angel in heaven. Her name is Clarelle. She was a dear friend that came to me through back in the day. So I was doing a book tour for Mentoring Magic, Pick the Card for Your Success, which is one of my 13 books that I've written. So I was doing this book tour, and I did a phone call to, I did this radio interview with a gentleman named Ray out of Michigan. And he had a show that was called Ordinary People, Extraordinary Planet. And he called me back and he said, you know what, Shelly, we have to scrap that recording and we got to retape it. But before we did, and of course I was like, what? I don't want to record. Because, it's like such a pain in the butt to do re-recordings. You know that. Yeah. Okay, so, but he said, I want you to meet this woman before we get back on the radio show, and she was one of the people that had been on his show, but he said, she could probably help you market this book. I was like, okay. So I got on a phone call with Clarell, and I get on the call, and she starts telling me this story that I just was so moved, Rebecca, that I was so moved that I dropped my phone. I put it on speaker. I started typing like a madwoman. I opened up my laptop. I'm typing like a madwoman. I'm like, gotta type. And tears are just going down my face. And she's telling me about how she was getting her doctorate, and she was a single mom of 3 children, and she had a brain aneurysm while she was watching American Idol, for God's sake. And so she's telling me this story, and I'm so moved, and just like, this woman is clearly brilliant. And I'm talking to her, and when I'm done, I'm like wiping up the tears. And I said, Clarell, like, has anyone told these stories, and are there stories out there like this that should be told? And she said, yes, and you should be the one to tell it. So I go on the radio show, and they're doing this countdown, and it's like 3, 2, and while he's counting it down, while the producer's counting it down, I said, Ray, has anybody written these Ordinary People, Extraordinary Planet stories down? And he said, no. And I said, well, then I got to be the author. And he said, and we're on. A week later, Rebecca, I get this email with a YouTube link. It's just a YouTube link. I click on it, and it is a national television show. And he's on in the studio, and he says, Dr. Shellie Hipsky from Robert Morris University is going to write the book, Ordinary People, Extraordinary Planet. And I was like, oh, crap, I better get to work. So really, that's where the whole inspiration is just a story away came from. Now, I remember the moment when I first said it out loud. And that was in New York City when we filmed the pilot of it. And I was there with Jacqueline Alouetto, and she runs the Real Beauty, Real Women platform. She's amazing what she does for girls who are being sexually trafficked and that are going through all kinds of horrific things. Like, she's amazing. She is a true humanitarian. So Jack and I are sitting there, and I'm recording my interview with her about how she had done so much for the homeless people of America and the women and everything. And then we got to the end, and I was just like, because this was like the pilot of my show, and we got to the end, and it was kind of like, okay, like, thanks for coming. And Jack, they turned off the camera, and she was like, no. She's like, you need a tagline. And I was like, you know what? I've always had a tagline inside of me, but I never said it out loud. And she's like, it's time. And so we turned the cameras back on again. That's awesome. And I looked right into the camera, and I said, and remember, inspiration's just a story away. And then it was like, that was it. Like, I had to do that, but like, so I've done that like a bazillion times. I've done over 1,000 interviews at this point. Yeah. And so it's always, that's always been my tagline ever since then. So that's where that came from. You're the first person to ask me like where the tagline truly came from, because like everybody starts with the Clarell story, but we never got to Jack. So that was
cool. No, that's great. I love it. I just love knowing the backstories, because I know it starts somewhere. And that's the message too to people who are watching. You've got to start somewhere with one step, whether that's journaling, whether that's hiring a coach, whether that's investing $100,000 into your company, whatever that looks like. You've got to take one step, and then let the universe guide you. Let what you know inside yourself and all the skills you already have guide you, right?
Absolutely. Right, the magic manifest. I love it.
I have one last question for you.
Yes.
I want to ask, do you feel like you've reached your pinnacle of success?
Oh, hell no.
All right. No, I knew you'd say that. Not. I knew you'd say that. So what's next in Dr. Shellie Hipsky's life? What is next?
Oh, so many things. Like I feel like I'm always evolving and always moving forward and always meeting new people. I mean, like for me, it's the people. I love meeting new people and networking. Like when we met, I was like, oh my gosh, she's like a kindred spirit. I love Rebecca.
The feeling was mutual.
Thank you. No, so like when I meet these people, I make these connections, and then I connect them to other people. So for me, it's like these, I get the opportunity to plant these trees, and then this tree starts to come up, and then the branches are like, the students that I've taught over the years, and over the 10 years of being a teacher at a professor level, and the teacher when I was, and the readers and the audience, and all those things, and then all these leaves, and then all the businesses that have been created, and the nonprofits that have been created, and the women that have been helped. It's just like, yes, it's very exciting.
All right.
So no, I can't tell you exactly where it's all going. My best friend always says, she always says, I never know what you're going to be doing next, but I always know it's going to be fabulous. So
yes, I would agree with that. All right. So we didn't talk a whole lot about like fun specifically, but I do want, as the chief fun officer, I want to say that it's pretty obvious that you have fun in your life.
Yeah. I love that.
But that it doesn't mean that everything is fun. It means that you're seeking out the fun things to do. You're experimenting, and you're challenging yourself on a pretty regular basis to get out there and just do stuff. So I love that message. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Before we go, I always do a 2-minute fast round questions. I'll ask as many as I can in those 2 minutes, and you can just answer them to the best of your ability.
Okay, wait, am I like spitfiring? Like whatever comes to my head?
Yeah, it's kind of a spitfire thing. Yep, total spitfire.
I love it.
Okay,
Do it. Go for
I
it.
got my timer on. So the timer goes on now. Here we go. All right. What do you love about yourself?
My red lips right now.
Who is your favorite teacher and why?
Coach Fortner, because he took me from remedial English classes to winning the state finals in an essay contest.
Nice. What's your dream role in musical theater?
Oh my God. So, wow.
You're like, I have 14 of them. One role that you would play.
Mama Rose and Gypsy. I got to play that someday. And I always thought that it would be okay if I got older and heavier, because someday I'll play that role.
Nice. Okay, what's the best meal you've ever eaten?
Oh my God. Okay, so my push meal when I had 2 babies, every time I had them bring me string beans and tofu with brown rice after I birthed the babies. That was what I earned.
Funniest thing one of your kids has ever said to you that you couldn't stop laughing about?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, they're so funny. I don't know. I guess it's just, I'll just say a cute thing. Like Alyssa used to call coffee Foffy, and it was just so stinking cute. So that we'll go with that. Foffy.
Foffy. Okay. What is the one song that gets you on the dance floor?
Oh, Dancing Queen.
Yes, of course. Doesn't matter where we are, right? In an elevator, we'll start dancing to that one. All right. Last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, for living my legacy while I was alive.
Yeah, instead of when you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it's true. People,
okay.
Yeah, people die and then they get well known, right? So you're
right.
doing it while you're
making it happen.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
That's great. Well, that's our 2 minutes. And I just want to say thanks again to Dr. Shellie Hipsky. You can find her book pretty much anywhere books can be bought or listened to. And there are 13 that came before this one, I believe. Anyway, a lot of books that you can find that she's put her heart and soul into. Please do check out the globalsisterhood.org, right?
globalsisterhoodonline.org. Yes.
globalsisterhoodonline.org, and the magazine as well. I mean, just look up her name. You'll find it all there.
Yep, ShellieHipsky.com. That's what works.
Perfect.
Get it all.
Yep. Amazing.
Full package.
All right, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Rebecca Benedict, and I'm your CFO. Talk to you soon.